Let's get it on. Selamat malam semuanya. Good evening in Indonesia. Good morning, Nick. Maybe good afternoon in other places. Okay, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our special event tonight. And we will present prominent presenters, Nick and from America, right? And then Hidra from Italy, and then of course Kang Rey Bahtiar from Indonesia. Okay, my name is Adia, and I will be the host for tonight. And on behalf of the committee for the Komunitas Lubang Jarum Indonesia, so I would like to welcome you to our special event tonight. And this event is organized by Rai Bahtiar Derajat, of course, as the founder of Kamera Lubang Jarum Indonesia, and supported by FSM RIC Yogyakarta as well. Well, before we start, I would like to introduce a bit about Komunitas Lubang Jarum Indonesia, which was actually established in 2002, and it has been spread all over Indonesia in like more than 30 countries, in 30 cities in Indonesia. And for several years, this KLJI, or this Komunitas Lubang Jarum Indonesia Pinhole community, has been able to maintain its community using the Facebook and Twitter from the social media. And then, well, I'm gonna take a quote from Leonardo da Vinci about the pinhole camera. Camera obscura, or the universe are contracted to a point, and what a point is so marvelous. Okay, now I would like to welcome our special presenter tonight, Nick. Good morning. How are you today?
Good evening to you.
Okay, good evening. Yeah, thank you. Hope you are doing fine. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, tonight Nick is going to present his material after Rai Bahtiar Derajat. And then tonight the moderator will be Miss Hani Rosidaini. And then before we start, I would like to read you the rundown. Okay, first, I would like to hand this Zoom meeting to the moderator, Ms. Hani Rosidaini, and then speaker one, which would be Ray Bahtiar Derajat. He would be presenting about KLJI, or the Indonesian Pinhole community. And then the second presenter, Nick Dwaracek, will present his material about some photos, and then Hidra will be presenting next. And after that, we will come to a discussion and question and answer session for discussion. Okay, so that's all the rundown for tonight. And for the next, I would like to give the room and the time to our moderator, Ms. Hani Rosidaini. Ms. Hani, the time is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Adia, for introducing
Thank
me.
you,
Hi,
Ms. Hani.
everyone. Again, how are you in the 16 days of Ramadan? Okay. Well, and good morning for our participant in the US. Thank you for joining us today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam. Yeah, first of all, please allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm Hani Rosidaini. You can call me Hani. And it's also such an honor for me to be here in the, can we call it a celebration of Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day 2021?
Yeah.
Good. Let's give applause. In our seminar titled Pinhole Stories in Three Continents. Well, before we begin, I would like to give some informations about the rules, okay? As you might have known, we're gonna have three speakers who will give their presentations for about 15 minutes each. During the presentations, I would like to ask the participants to turn the mic off. So if you have anything to say, questions, or share your PSOA, Pinhole Stories on Anniversary, you can write them down in the chat box. And for interesting questions, you can get lucky to ask them directly to the speakers after all the presentations finish. So give your best questions, okay? Oh yeah, for participants from Indonesia, you can type the question either in English or Bahasa Indonesia, because we will translate it for you, so don't worry. Okay, without further ado, let's welcome our amazing speakers today. Our speaker, yeah, please give applause again to Mr. Gary Batiag from Pinhole, Indonesia. Yeah, where's Indonesia?
Salam lima jari.
Yeah, salam lima jari. 5 fingers greeting. Okay, I knew Kang Ray like since a decade ago, yeah, Kang Ray. Also because of this community.
Oh, di KLJI ya dulu.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Our second speaker, this is very special. He's the Pinhole photographer who's also the coordinator of the Pinhole Day from Wisconsin in the US. Please give applause the one and only Nick Deverage. Thank you so much for joining us. And last but not least, we have Hydra from Italy, who will be joined virtually through their photo presentations. Okay, let's move. I think we can move to our first speaker, Kang Ray Batiar. Are you ready?
Oke, langsung aja ya, nggak basa-basi.
Okay, when you're ready, please take the stage. Time is yours.
Yes. Coba share screen dulu ya.
Kang
Oke.
Ray, you look so tired. Are you tired?
Yes, I'm tired.
Tired preparing for this?
See? Oke, full screen. Full screen. Full screen yang mana ya? Udah
Di bawah.
di bawah. Ini.
Ya, itu. Ya.
Okay. Okay. What the purpose of playing pinhole? That's a question. I think in additional to nostalgia, there is a reason that we should know together, namely to remind that humans have extraordinary creativity that all starts from imagination. It's precisely this weakness in pinhole photography that becomes a way to explore imagination. Interestingly, the weakness of pinhole photography had a positive impact on the reemergence of ethics and manners in association, and also have a positive impact on documenting the cultural heritage of object. The first time we try pinhole photography, we will most likely feel stupid, but with perseverance, finally comes the spirit of trying that is able to give rise to self-confidence when dug in togetherness. I think the world of photography is like Indonesia, many different ways and habits. So perfectly it can be scornful of each other, let alone demeaning. Let each genre develop enriching each other in one piece. The world of photography is also very wide, so it's a pity if we are narrow-minded, because photography is not start since the existence of the camera and the ability to print positive image on a medium, but since man realized the beauty of his light painting, use any method and tool to visualize it, because the soul of photography is the human imagination itself. So, technological advance won't kill the imagination of photography. By the time digital photography started to rise around 1995, I was worried about the world of education I'm afraid if if we forget that our bodies are all analog and we have an incredible imagination, then I'm looking for a way to keep spoiling the imagination and togetherness until the birds of the Indonesian pinhole community that has a five-finger greeting symbol. Uh, okay. In a word, most important things is the process. The end result is just a ceremony. Okay. In 1997, when digital technology began to boom, I started using digital cameras uh, because of the demand of working as a photography professional starting to fret. I'm not anti-digital, but I think in the world of photography, education is better to know something from the ground up first. I tried to figure out how to process our analogous bodies, but didn't forget the extraordinary function of our imagination. Came the idea of shooting with a pinhole camera. Incidentally, I've often played black and white dark room. After trying and repeatedly failing, finally managed to photograph the fence of the house using a 2-kilogram milk can pinhole camera, which have filled with negative black and white paper Chan Fu 20, 25 centimeter. Next, began to dare to take a picture outside the house. I went to Bogor Botanical Gardens carrying 10 sheets of the paper, accidentally stay at the old hotel inside the Botanical Gardens and asked the officer for permission to make a dark room in the hotel bathroom. Out of the 10 papers I brought, I'm grateful that 3 papers we have been nearly perfectly lit. The braver I am, then my wife made a model, deliberately stylish sleep, because it should not move for 5 minutes, and it worked. Uh, Furthermore, on March 28, 29, 30, 301, assisted by assistant instructor Ipul or Lupi Effendi, held a pinhole workshop at the elementary school at TPA Bantar Gebang, Bekasi. On the same days, was also held at the Open Age Putra Village, Lenteng Agung, South Jakarta. RBS Studio is supported by IC Gallery and Embassy of the Netherlands. What draws all the kids on seems to have a deep curiosity and doubts the capabilities of camera they make themselves. But when it proves successfully, they become more enthusiastic. Finally, in September 201, the book Shooting with Pinhole Camera was published by Puspaswara. memotret dengan kamera lubang jarum. Then I call pinhole camera is pinhole camera, KLJ. Kamera lubang jarum, pinhole camera, KLJ. Because the basic concept of innovation is different. I don't really care about technique, but try to transmit the taste by using a typical Indonesian keyword to test. And October 7th, 17, 201, held a small exhibition with professional photographers, Saiful Boon and Davi Linggar, who had been playing pinhole cameras in the IC gallery. Also had a workshop for professional photographers and journalists. In September 202 and 2, Aryo participated in Gigir Manuk multicultural art camp in Bali. There I made a collaborative work with Balinese artists. Furthermore, workshop tour guerrilla in Java, Bali, even Makassar. Okay. Since then, various news in the mass media appeared. Even often film live shows on television. And August 17, 202, we dared to proclaim in the Indonesian pinhole community or Komunitas Lubang Jarum Indonesia or KLJI is community of KLJI players in Indonesia. Since then, the local community began to emerge of the more 50 communities, and I freed them to form their community. The community of the local community was born. Until the award from Museum Indonesia on December 7, 2010, Tirto Adisuryo Award. Okay, there's a philosophy. KLJI does not actually question the issues of camera, but the meaning of pinholes, it is what we underline, because pinholes can mean condition where it's hard to come to see, and at times like that we have to able to escape. KLJ proved to invite us to be a space large enough for thinking, task, taste, and even physical exercise. But this space must be filled with real action in togetherness. Also, born are various camera innovations, which will be more clearly discussed at the virtual discussion tomorrow at the same time. There is also variety of visual styles and shapes depending on the model and type on camera use. Yeah. Okay. Ini Jogja, yes. There's a six hole, wide and tele, yes, in white and tele, digabung itu apa? Until 3 film in one camera, 32 hole in one camera. What? So not salt print, yeah. Solar holding an exhibition in Pinhole competition in Kutai, Kartanegara in October 2012. Kisah Samudra or the story of the ocean at Maha Art Denpasar, Bali in October 2013. They organized an exhibition of negative glass at the National Museum at the end of 2013. On this 15th anniversary, KLJ held a cross-border exhibition, an exhibition where all photography artists of various genders joined at the Museum Seni Rupa Kota Tua, Jakarta. In 2020, in order to celebrate Pinhole Day, made a virtual exhibition together, indonesianpinholeday.org. Field of education has also given birth to more than 10 graduated with bachelor degree and 3 people graduated with doctoral degree. Lastly, the currently holding Pinhole Stories on anniversary by virtually inviting Hydra community from Italy and WPPD committee Nick Jovoracek. Sorry, it's now present. Okay, on behalf of the Indonesian Pinhole community, we thank you for your presence. Hopefully, the word photography can join us in advance. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, pusing. Sorry.
Salam 5 Jari. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's a very interesting presentation because we can see dedication to this art throughout the journey. So, are you saying that you started in 1977, right?
No. That's wrong. 1997.
1997.
Sorry.
So
Tunduk.
do you realize already how many years you've been doing this?
97.
It's 57 years. It's 57 years.
Yeah. 25.
It's 57 years. Wow. Such a very dedication. Okay. Thank you so much, Sangre.
Yep.
Let's move to the next speaker. Nick, are you ready?
Yes, I think I am.
Okay. The time is yours.
Okay, well, I think that I was asked to, when I first saw the first agenda, it was to do a presentation about the history of Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day, how it started and how it's developed. And so let me try to do my screen sharing here. And so I'm Nick Dvorak. I've been on the Pinhole Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day team since 2004 in a variety of positions, which we'll get into. But for the last 4 years, I've been the coordinator, which sounds very important, but it just means that I send out emails every now and again.
That's
So
important.
talking about the beginning of Pinhole Day, first I have to talk about the Pinhole Visions website. And I'm not sure if I can I make this any larger? No, I can't. Nope, that's as good as it's going to get. But the Pinhole Visions website was started in 1997, the same time Ray started taking pinhole photographs. And it was, I mean, 1997 was very early for the internet. This screen capture is from 2002. Pinhole Visions no longer exists. But you can see that it had news stories, articles that had been written about pinhole photography, events and exhibitions. There was also a gallery built in. It was created by Greg Kemp, who was a painter and pinhole photography and a teacher, but he was also a very talented programmer. And literally, as soon as the internet started, Greg created this pinhole site, which really changed pinhole photography for everybody, because before that, you may have known one or two pinhole photographers, but there was hardly a community, especially in smaller communities. But now this connected people all over the world. Part of the pinhole photography, the Pinhole Visions, was an email discussion list, which used to be the way to communicate on the internet, but it's kind of old-fashioned now. The email discussion list no longer exists. But on February 14th, 2001, Zernike Au, who you may have heard of Zero Image Cameras, Zernike builds those, he posted, "Happy Valentine's Day. Wouldn't it be great to have a day for pinholers all over the world?" Well, the list members loved the idea. I mean, immediately this thread was very busy. Within days of this suggestion, a group was organized to work out, okay, just what is Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day? And they were led by Greg Kemp, who did Pinhole Visions. One of the first decisions was, when are we going to have, what day would be good to have Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day? And the last Sunday in April was chosen mainly because that's when the weather would be nice all over the world. It's late fall in the southern hemisphere. It's late spring in the northern hemisphere. Of course, you nearly on the equator, that doesn't make as much difference, but that's sort of the reason. And in April rather than in fall, because they were very excited about getting it done. And so the mainly what Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day is a web-based event where everyone around the world takes pinhole photographs on the same day. You have to choose just one, your favorite, which from an instructional standpoint is an important thing, and submit it to our website. And Greg wrote this website literally by typing code in. And this is long before anything like Facebook or Flickr. So it included the gallery, but it includes a lot of back-end stuff about where we review submissions beforehand, and things that groups. I mean, these were fairly advanced web things when we started in 2001. And we still use much of the code that he wrote. That year, 291 photographs were submitted. But remember, this happened, what, less than about 2 months after the original suggestion. So 291 was fairly, we were very pleased with that. The numbers of submissions increased pretty much steadily until 2012. We had 3,865 photographs submitted that year. I think that just happened to be when there were several large workshops. There was a group in Brazil that took film cameras and just handed them out in the street and have people go take a picture and come back. And they had like 300 submissions. And there were a couple other events like that. I'm not exactly sure why, but the number of participants has reduced. And of course, last year we were down to 1,339. But obviously last year was kind of a special year for everybody. And so we were happy that we had that many. This is a graph of the number of participants from Indonesia over the time. We didn't have anybody for the first 3 years. But possibly that's because most of it was going on English-speaking websites, I think. But in 2004, we had a few. It kept going until somebody started creating workshops, probably Ray's group. I should have looked into that. And then for quite a few years, Indonesia has been one of our biggest contributors. And then again, over the last 3 years, it's faded down a little bit. This year, I just approved entry number 485. So we're, and that's about par for the course right now. These countries have submissions. This is as of yesterday. I think we added Lithuania in the middle of the night. I think that's 45 countries that have submitted photographs. But of course, you're allowed to submit photographs until normally the end of May. But because of the pandemic and the shutdown and the difficulties people will have in everything, we've extended that until June 30th. And admittedly, the most submissions come in quickly, early, but we will get them dribbling in until right until the deadline. There's always a few people that discover the deadline is there 10 minutes before it happens. So the other thing that Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day website does is lists events and workshops. So anyone that is holding an event that's related to Pinhole Day can submit to it, and it will be listed on our form, and people can search for that. Actually, all these events that have been taken place in the past are still recorded, and with the menus at the top, you can find out what's happened. They take place, some of these are just lectures, some of them are workshops where people come in. Most of them actually are workshops where people come to some place and are provided with, and we really like those because that's where people discover pinhole photography. A lot of times if they had no exposure to it at all, on Pinhole Day, somebody will have a workshop, and that's how they discover it. Last year, of course, I was surprised that we had 20 events, but again, last year, very special year, and this year being similarly special. We have 29 events, but we've had, normally we have about 100 events around the world. I think the most we had was 153 one year. In 2012, we added a picture of the camera to the thing, and that's one of the things that I think is most interesting about looking at our gallery. One, of course, is that Ray spoke about the imagination and individuality of humans. Again, the variety of ways people use pinhole photography and the style of their pictures is just incredibly broad. And also the types of cameras that they use. So we see things from, again, the simple cans that Ray has spoken about, view cameras, and also some fairly complicated things that people make. And so by going through the gallery, you can look and see what insane variety of cameras are used for Pinhole Day. All the galleries remain online. So when you look at the exhibition page, there will be a menu at the right, and you can select all 21 Pinhole Days now. The people who run Pinhole Photography Day are a fairly small group. We used to have a very large network for publicity and translations. I think the website appears in 14 languages, but we don't have to update that very much. And also online translations have become so good at what they do. And also for publicity, everybody is on social media of one type. And so that's mostly what goes with that. But the members of the team are Tom Miller, who's from my neighboring state of Minnesota. And he takes care of the groups and events and business affairs. And if any one person is associated with Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day, short of Greg Kemp, who created it, I think it would be Tom. He was on one of the publicity teams in the first one, and he's held several roles, including being coordinator for about half the time that we've had it. Now, I assign individual roles to that, but again, these individual roles are not really hard and fast, and we all review pictures and correspond with people and post on social media. In my neighboring state, to education coordinator is Chuck Flagg. He was an art teacher in a high school and on the Illinois River. And he's basically a potter. He's retired now and he spends all day making pots. But he would do a pinhole photography workshop with his experience with his students. The translations coordinator is Lena Kalberg, a graphic designer from Stockholm. Publicity is Justin Quinnell, an eccentric photography teacher from Bristol, England, who does insane things like puts cameras in his mouth, noted for what here he calls his ophalograms, very close-up photographs of his teeth. The one role that certainly really still has a definite purpose is our webmaster, Andy Hansen Dvorak, also from the USA, but in Massachusetts. And if that name sounds familiar, that's because he's my son. Greg Kemp remained the webmaster, although he tried to recruit people for years. And in 2015, he tried again, and without telling me, not even mentioning it to me, my son responded and volunteered to be webmaster. And so he's continued in that role. And Greg was a very talented programmer, but he was also a very individual programmer. So, and Greg passed away in 2015. So Andy has had to learn a lot of not only the regular software, but all of the eccentric ways that Greg made our website work. This is Andy's pinhole photograph, Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day in 2016, I believe. He was driving home from his girlfriend's house and put that. And of course, there's me, a resources coordinator, which basically means I answered the emails. And this is my photograph from Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day last year, where I was standing in the bath with a towel, drying my hair with a towel. And I thought, wow, that would make a strange photograph. And if you're familiar with Julia Margaret Cameron, the 19th century British photographer, I always thought that this sort of channeled her vibe. So stop sharing. I was asked to if I saw any trends or new innovations in pinhole photography and that we see happening in Pinhole Day. It was, I'd have to say, the first thing that is a trend that's happened since we begun is now many, many more people are buying cameras, that there are very nice pinhole cameras available on for sale, and very popular. As I say that, are getting very. I say that at the same people who are still developing and building cameras, same developing cameras out of everything you can imagine. Another trend, I think, that as they get larger sensors and putting pinholes on those, and some of them creating relatively interesting work. Solargraphy, where you do extremely long pinhole photographs outdoors that are done only by the action of light with no developing. That has become very popular as well. And one thing that we saw last year was because people were confined in their houses, we saw a lot of people darkening rooms and putting a pinhole in and making a camera obscura out of their bedroom or living room. So are there any questions or?
Okay. Thank you, Nick, for sharing. And yeah, I think on behalf of Pinhole Indonesia, I'd like to say thank you, Greg Cam, rest in peace. And thank you, Nick, for initiating and doing these whole things, Tom Miller and else. Anyway, do you bring your favorite pinhole camera with you?
I do have a couple cameras here.
Your favorite one?
This is the camera that I used for Pinhole Day. Oops, went in the wrong direction. This year, it's a 120 format 6x6 centimeter camera. It's fairly short distance to the pinhole for a wide angle. It's made out of a 6-pack of a Wisconsin beer from a Wisconsin brewery called Supper Club.
Looks fancy.
This is a camera that I've been using quite a bit. That it's a 35mm camera, and this is something I've been doing for at least 15 years now, is carrying a 35mm pinhole camera with me and just taking photographs like other people use cell phones. But this is my latest one. Actually, this one only has a 24x24mm negative, so a square negative. And it also has a rising front. I'm not sure if I can keep that on camera and demonstrate it, but the pinhole goes up and down, so I can use somewhat the rising front of a view camera, an architectural technique, which I like a lot. And this is one more camera. This is what I call the variable cuboid. It's a, again, 6x6 centimeter negative on a 120 film. But this one, the focal length, the distance to the pinhole, the angle of view, that I can take it off and change it and make it a wider angle or a narrower angle camera. And that also has a rising front. So it's about my most sophisticated camera. And all these designs of these things are online and can be downloaded from my blog at pinholica.blogspot.com.
Good promotion. I guess you're always making your own camera.
Well, for me, one of the attractions is the ability to make my own camera. And I don't think I would take better photographs. You know, I take as good of photographs as anybody with, with the cameras I build. And that's kind of an important part of the whole process for me.
Okay, I get to that. Okay, thank you. Let's Hydra will present. Hydra sent the line. Can we present it?
Okay, I'm gonna share screen for Hydra presentation. Is it visible now? Okay, can you screen sharing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, you can see it here. So, about analog photography projects, witchcrafts, and more, curated by Noemi Luomo and Simona Strozzi. On the occasions of the from the life call for and encourage all enthusiasts the concept of habit. Is designed. The call itself is open to whoever would like to share their intimate and through a self-portrait. As the pinhole camera extremely long pursues us with patiently, this is automatically how each one of us lives the relation with its own ecological needs, a sort of tribute to the survival instinct that everyone has. So what you see right now is the first hydrazines that is published online, where the contents are from the projects received. Contextually, with the online launch of the zine on 25 April 2021, a choice of the best pictures will be on display on an itinerant exhibition in Rome's streets in order to open to people the access through participants then. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Hydra. Nick, what do you think about the pictures?
These pictures are all very interesting. Again, one of the strengths of pinhole photography is the tremendous variety that we see, and I can see as these go past, I can see them, things exposed on photographic paper. Again, the use of movement here is something that is very widely used. I think it's often funny when some lens photographer discovers long exposures and think that that's the most creative thing, and it's sort of what pinhole photographers have been living with for a long time.
Kang Hui, what do you think about the photozines of Hydra? Kang Hui, you have to unmute first.
Okay, good. But semua analog ya, nggak ada yang digitalnya.
Yeah.
Coba tanyain ke Nick. Nggak nyoba yang analog, digitalnya nggak? Kayaknya tadi ada yang digital.
I think all Hydra photos are analog, right? Okay, thank you. So for participants, I want to remind you to fill out the guest book in Google Docs for our documentations. You can find the link in the chat box, and as it filled, we will send you a certificate as the proof of attendance. Okay? So who's this? Somebody say, "Yay, certificate!"
Pertanyaan buat Opik. Advances and variants of techniques that are currently trending among pinhole practitioners. Apa ya? Kemajuan maupun varian teknik yang saat ini sedang tren di kalangan praktisi pinhole itu yang gimana? Gitu. Advance and variants of techniques that are currently trending among pinhole practitioners. Tolong tanya teknik.
This is question from
from saya.
Oh, okay.
From me to Nick.
So Nick Ray Batiar asked you about your opinion about the advancement techniques and variation that are trending among the pinhole practitioners.
My first reaction is there's not much new under the sun. That I've seen a variety of things. Trends, it's hard to identify them just because of the incredible variety. Again, digital is making a difference just because you can have ISO ratings, that are unheard of. And so people are starting to do things like handheld pinhole photography that we haven't done before. And as I mentioned earlier, solargraphy has become very, very popular, where people put film cans and beverage cans and strap them to a telephone pole somewhere and leave them for 3, 4, 6 months. That's gotten to be really a worldwide phenomenon, although it has been happening. People have been doing that for at least 15 years. The first examples of that I saw. Um, um, and again, I think the trend of people buying cameras rather than making their own is something new. When I began, although zero image cameras from Hong Kong have been around, he's been doing that since into the 90s. And there were a few people, Eric Renner's Pinhole Resource made and sold cameras in the 90s. But recently, there have been many new manufacturers, Ondu, Reality So Subtle, Nopo, and a long list of others that are available. So for people who would never think of doing pinhole photography or making their own camera, now they can buy a camera and experience pinhole photography that way. But other, almost any technique, you'll see a historical development. So I'm not sure if there's anything that's really become new or terribly different lately. Just, of course, the creativity of the human beings taking the photographs is, of course, always developing and changing. And I guess that's one thing that when I look at the Pinhole Photography Day website, the one thing is the common humanity of everybody. That despite this tremendous individual variation, when you look across the world, you can see that these are humans doing it. It's not, there's not anything that's characteristic of one part of the world or another group of people, that they're all experiencing pinhole photography.
Thank you. So before I also have question for Kang Gray. So based on the next presentation, so we can see the peak of Indonesian contributors in the Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day is in 2015. So it's significantly high, like from this to this. So what happened in that year, in 2015? Kang Gray, you still muted.
Ini nanyanya ke aku ya.
Iya.
Pertanyaannya
Jadi kalau tadi grafiknya 2015.
Kamera bahasa Indonesia aja ya. Lu jelasin ntar. Ini apa? Sekarang makin turun itu peralatan dan bahannya makin mahal. Itu aja yang penting. Yang pertama itu makin susah dan makin mahal. Jadi karena analog itu sekarang di Indonesia susah dan mahal.
Tapi kenapa 2015 paling banyak? Lagi itu paling aktif.
Nah, yang masih aktif tuh yang ya paling dari udah kan yang ikut tuh mahasiswa. Nah pada saat mereka keluar jadi kurang aktif juga gitu. Gitu. Gimana? Nah sekarang banyak lagi yang baru.
So by the
Nah yang
time it
itu
becomes
sekarang ada.
students activity.
Ya.
Okay. Anything else?
Ya.
Oke, berarti itu lagi ini ya, lagi banyak mahasiswa yang ikutan gitu ya?
Iya, itu tuh pas saat-saat puncaknya kan, pada saat itu tuh. Nah, tapi setelah itu banyak yang udah lulus gitu kan, tapi yang tetap tuh masih ada yang di sekolah-sekolah kayak Pak Budi yang di Pekalongan, terus ada yang ada ISI, terus ada apa yang di sini tuh SMA 9 gitu. Itu tuh masih tetap, tapi yang ininya yang apa yang dari luar sekolah itu yang agak sulit tuh. Karena ya banyak masalah sih kalau Pinhole kan. Ya.
So in Indonesian Pinhole community, it reached the peak in 2015 because it consisted of many students, university students. Yeah. After they graduate, they become less active. So it decreased again in the next year. So maybe we can ask about what happened in other countries, because yeah, in Indonesia, we can say that most of the community members are students. And I heard that the most submissions from Pinhole Day, Worldwide Pinhole Day, come from the US, right? And European countries are also very active. Are there professional photographer or are they students like in Indonesia? What do you think is that?
I'd say it's probably more individuals, and they range. There are professional photographers, but they're kind of rare. But I would say most of the submissions are just from individuals working together in photo clubs. We do have several schools that have regular, there's an art school in Atlanta and one in Calgary. I guess that's in Canada. That participate in Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day, but mostly I think it's just individuals. And of course, in the last year and this year as well, all those student groups couldn't participate. And so the numbers are a little bit down. And now the exhibition is because we didn't have a lot of first-time photographers who this was their first pinhole photograph ever. That the gallery is almost completely full of experienced pinhole photographers, and it made for a really extraordinary exhibition. And also a lot of people referenced what was going on in the world. And of course, that always, gives a little extra dimension, especially when you're thinking of an event that takes place on a specific day and what the world was like on that day. Of course, last April, it was pretty quiet everywhere.
Okay, I think I will give an opportunity for participants to ask directly to our speakers. I see some questions here from Akbar and Yana. Do you guys want to ask directly to Nick and Kangre? Akbar and Yana?
Iya. Akbar, buka mic, Bar.
Halo, halo.
Halo, halo.
Iya, halo.
Ya, langsung silakan.
apa ya, untuk kira-kira bisa nggak Kang untuk apa ya, kerjasama gitu untuk distributor masukin kertas atau film ke Indonesia gitu?
Gimana? Biasanya kan bukan dari sono, Bar. Coba tanyain Hani.
So Nick, Akbar is asking about the supply of the film roll. So I think what we're facing, the challenge that we're facing is about the raw film supply. So Yana is also asking whether is there a way to make the photo paper by ourselves to tackle this challenge.
There is. It is not an easy thing to do. Basically, the same process that William Henry Fox Talbot created by using silver nitrate and I think potassium chloride to form a silver chloride on paper. But making light sensitive materials that are sensitive enough to make a picture in a pinhole camera is pretty difficult. Cyanotype, which is an iron salt based process, is more common to be able to be made by yourself, but it is an extremely slow process. So I'm not sure that that's, there are light sensitive emulsions that you can buy that you can coat onto almost anything, but if you can buy those, you can buy film and photo paper as well. So a homemade solution to a photosensitive material, I really don't have any answer for.
So what we experience right now is there are less and less distributors who import the film paper. So how about the condition in your place?
Actually, I have a camera store in my town that still offers film, a very limited selection. But of course, purchasing online, you may have to wait several days, but I think film is still quite wide available. And somewhere I read once that film is going to stay around, but more like oil paint is. That in the 18th century, paints were the only way, and that was every professional and thousands of people made paintings because it was the only way of making imaging. Well, now photography has replaced all that. So in the same way, even though digital has replaced the the day-to-day work of photography, as an art material, film is likely to be continued. And there's some companies such as FOMA in Czechoslovakia that has taken traditional films and made them available. And a few others, and Ilford Seal seems to be committed. So the variety of films is not going to be as common, but they will be available because there's a big enough market for just people doing photography as art that we're probably going to see a supply continue. But as I said, it probably is going to be coming to you through the mail or through United Parcel Service or whatever delivery. It's going to be an online purchase and not something you'd be able to get locally.
Oke, mungkin Hani minta pendapatnya Cis tuh. Cis, cheese.
It's the bowl, but we have to,
Krishna.
yeah.
Di sini ada cheese, fotografer hebat deh.
Wah.
Siap, sok. Sok, naon, ber.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have our prominent photographer, Cis, Kang Cis. Halo.
Hello everybody. Ya, susah ya. Ini bahasa Indonesia aja deh. Ntar ituin ke sono ya.
Sorry, bukan fotografer, seniman sih ya.
Are you an artist or a photographer?
Yeah, Pinhole is very difficult because now the distributor of paper and film more or less in Indonesia. So the poor, I say poor because well, everybody use the expired film and it becomes a bit not so in photography. I still use my stock paper from 1994 maybe. I use Ilford. The contrast is a bit low, but you know, for me I still can do it. So maybe my opinion, if we have if we have a statistic about the film that people here use, maybe KLJ can collect it and we can buy what is urunan in English? Collective urunan.
Fundraise.
Yeah, some sort of like this lah, like that lah. Jadi bahasa Indonesia-nya. Jadi kalau bisa KLJI itu mengkolektif beberapa pemakai yang masih aktif untuk didata sehari atau sebulan dia pakai berapa roll film supaya saya juga sedang giat-giatnya dengan darkroom di sini. Ada 3 lab darkroom di Bandung yang mau dibuat malah dalam kondisi yang agak menyedihkan sebetulnya, film banyak yang expired dan sebagainya. Tapi kita mau coba 3 darkroom ini mau coba mendata berapa sih kebutuhannya supaya ada kawan di luar yang memang mau bantu. Jadi kalau misalkan itu bisa terwujud, Ray bisa, teman-teman yang pemakai ini bisa jadi lebih semangat lagi. Karena menurut saya kalau kita pakai film expired ya kurang baik ya untuk teman-teman gitu.
Iya.
Itu aja sih dari saya. Sorry Nick, I have to speak in Indonesia because.
Okay, I understand.
Oke, mungkin dari yang lain ada.
Mas Priyadi.
Mas Pri.
About the economical challenge of doing this art, yeah.
May I?
Nah, ini dong jagoan.
Hello.
This is experimental photographer.
Hello, guys. Nice to see you tonight. May I respond the problem that we discussed tonight about the availability of material?
Yeah, sure.
In my campus, I am from photography department, Indonesia Institute of the Arts, Yogyakarta. We still studying about how to make a paper, black and white paper with the basis formula that's equivalent black and white paper that sell in the market. So maybe someday we can join to doing a research, doing a joint research to make the material more available in Indonesia with KLJ and campus. And I think that's a great project for the next time. And Maybe I can show my screen for a while. Maybe it's possible.
Yeah, please.
Iya dong, jelas. Of course.
This is a black and white material. Jadi based on 8071 formula by Richard Leach Maddox, that it's doing by my student, not by me. So I think some of my students have availability to make a photo paper, and maybe KLJI can join them to doing a collaboration. Yeah, and maybe tomorrow I will show to us how to make a photo paper. Maybe tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tomorrow bahasanya Indonesia, Yunis.
Indonesia. So the key is joint research campus and KLJI. I think that's very possible to do.
So you want
Thank you.
to share the process, or you want to teach us to make it? As well.
That can use to pinhole camera. And I try it. It's need about second exposure, and that's normal for photography, maybe.
Om Irwandi ini maha guru.
Tapi ini foundernya KLJ. Buat.
Nah, ini Mas Pri, silakan.
Oh ya, oke. Selamat malam teman-teman semua di Indonesia. Hi Nick, how are you? Okay, I'm still wondering about the pinhole process. What do you think about the digital sensor as a light recorder, Nick?
Obviously, there's a philosophical difference between using a digital recording and analog recording. My problem with the digital recorders is that they're small. And when you're using a lens that, creates a super crisp image, that's not too critical. But when you're using a pinhole, the physical size of the sensor makes a big difference. And so I know people that do use the small APS size sensors. I think most of it is done with full frame, but of course those cameras are pretty expensive. But I have seen people do creative work with digital, where I always think, that, try to make the medium disappear and just the image stand out. I'm not sure if I'm making that clear, but I have seen people use it, and it's getting better all the time. When this started happening, the committee, the coordinating group actually had a rather long discussion about whether we should allow digitally captured images. And the end result was, I don't want anyone telling me how to make art. If somebody says, oh, you couldn't use 35 millimeter, or then we would object to that. So as much as all of us were very dedicated analog photographers, that trying to say to people that no, that's not allowed, the only thing that we're interested in is that image being created by a pinhole rather than being created by a lens. So, and I saw one today that was taken with a single frame or full frame camera that was as clear and good looking as any digital image that I've ever seen. I suppose, of course, you could get better if you went up to some of the Hasselblad or Leaf things, but the price gets far out of this world, gets into the annual salary range.
Agree. Okay then. Thank you, Dick.
Oke. Siapa lagi nih?
Ayo Kang Geng,
Siapa lagi?
apa? Menembak siapa ini?
Nggak usah ditembak, termati loh.
Denny Hardianso tuh Om Denny. Om Denny, bagaimana Om?
Nah, dan
Terus siapa? Agustin tuh. Raja kampus. Denny Hardianso dong, Om Denny. Denny Hardianso.
Kang Denny.
Om Denny.
Denny Hardianso.
Didaulat ya Om Denny. Apakah Pinhole bisa disertifikasi Om Denny?
Buat motret model.
Oh, Nick, there's also someone asking about an opportunity for people outside America to learn and to learn about the pinhole in the US.
Well, there are numerous websites that talk about how to do it.
Are you personally having a specific program?
No, I'm just one individual blogger that I have in the past. When I was working, I did have some workshops, but nothing like a regular program. I think any photography school would be involved, and there are a lot of photo clubs. And again, that's why the internet has been so important in this, is that before that, I have to say I didn't know anybody else that you did pinhole photography with any regularity. So that's very important on learning, and there are lots of resources on the internet and a lot of books actually that have been published about pinhole photography. Outside of the English, I'm not familiar with it. I do know that there are, but I'm not familiar with those.
That's interesting. That's interesting because you've been talking about individual person. So how to maintain this pinhole community or this pinhole movement until it can run consistently for almost 21 years? Yeah.
I have to say that it's probably done it itself. That again, we used to have a large publicity team that would send press releases and would, to photo clubs and things. But we stopped doing that maybe 5 years ago because the online community was so active, and almost any social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, has lots of activity relating to pinhole. And of course, in the spring, that discussion comes to Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day. So it has become something that's almost become a thing in itself, and we really don't have to promote it. I guess, to be honest, we don't really want want to bother promoting it. We just want it to live by itself, and the people who are interested in Pinhole will find us. I mean, one thing that we do contribute, again, is those event listings, so that if you happen to be in a community where one exists, this is a place you can find it. But really what we concentrate on is the Pinhole Day, and not trying to, although we do have resources on our website that for people to learn pinhole photography. But I could say there's a lot of places on the internet that will do that.
And it already becomes a very big community worldwide. Oke. Ada lagi yang mau bertanya?
Boleh satu lagi, Mbak Hani.
Iya, boleh, silakan.
Okay. Can I ask you something, Nick? Is there any record of pinhole camera works that are selling for a high price? Have you ever known?
Yes, there are. There's a photographer from Boston, Massachusetts, Abelardo Morel, who sells in the thousands of dollars in very large works. And again, there are a smattering of them. So
That's
they
good price.
exist, but not a lot of choice out there.
Okay then, thank you.
I think we can give an opportunity to 2 more questions. Last 2 questions. Who's the last 2 question submitters? Kang Gray? You have any last question?
Ya, cukup. Cukup, Ben.
Okay, you can ask the question directly. Kang Ivan Aksiandi. Kang Ivan.
Ya, malam semuanya.
Last question from our Kang Ivan, silakan.
Ya. Okay, Nick, I some to question for you. If the work of Pinhole is accept to gallery and made to a sale, ya itu aja Han ininya.
Yes, I think pinhole photography there are numerous galleries that while not specializing in pinhole, exhibit pinhole work. There is a juried show in a city just north of where I live that is all mediums of work. I mean, painting, sculpture, ceramics. And for the last 2 years, I've had pinhole photography work accepted into that exhibit. And I actually sold the piece last year. So that was very unusual for me. It's just like any other artwork that the things that get accepted into galleries are fairly rarefied. But as you go around, I'm sure you would find it.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Okay, the very, very ultimate question, the very last question. Ya, silakan Teh mau nanya?
Yang kemarin apa ya? Pertanyaan. Pengen tahu aja responnya Nick tentang apa? Sejauh mana sih Pinhole Indonesia di apa? Diketahui sama mereka gitu.
Okay. So she's asking about the coverage of Pinhole community in Indonesia in worldwide. Did you give attention to the activities in Pinhole community, specifically in Indonesia?
Is this for me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we favor any particular place. Part of our philosophy with Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day is that everybody gets to submit. And so we're excited about seeing work from any community. And as I mentioned earlier, Indonesia has been one of our more regular contributors for the past 10 or 15 years. But I can't say that we have any specific focus on that, on any one country.
Dia kemarin kita ada pameran virtual. Nick sempat lihat nggak pameran kita?
Nick, did you see the exhibition of Pinhole community in Indonesia last year?
No, I'm afraid I didn't.
Nanti kita bisa kirimlah ininya apa filenya untuk bisa dilihat karya-karya teman-teman nantinya.
Okay. So we want to send you the file of last year's exhibition and ask you, some comments probably.
Sure. Again, I would be happy to respond to any inquiries. That you can contact me at contact@pinholeday.org. There's a link on the website with that email address. Or if you can find my blog, pinholica.blogspot.com. I can be reached there.
I hope we can exhibition together with Pinhole in Indonesia and with your place. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think that's all.
Yes.
Okay. Kang Ray, Nick, do you have any last things to say?
Just that if you did take a picture on Worldwide Pinhole Day with a pinhole camera, please submit it to our website, pinholeday.org. The more pictures, the more fun it is.
Okay, thank you for the inviting.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you so much.
Check the website of Pinhole Day, pinholica.blogspot.com. Ya, Kang Ray, ada kata-kata pesan?
Ya, terima kasih dan salam 5 jari. Okay.
Thank you and 5 fingers, good thing.
Password in Indonesia. Password in Indonesia.
Okay, that's a very nice session. I personally learned a lot from our discussion, and I hope you too. Thank you everyone who asked, and Nick as well as Kang Ray who responded to them. I hope we can see again next year in the next Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day. Thank you so much
Foto
for having me.
Foto bersama dulu.
Oh yeah, let's have a group photo.
We take picture together.
Yeah, let's have a good photo. Not with pinhole camera ya.
Yeah, of course.
Tapi boleh, Ani boleh dikasih lihat kameranya yang ada kamera di sampingnya.
If you want if you have your pinhole camera with you, you can bring it and we can take the picture of it.
Kameranya kan bawa pakai mana? Salam 5 jari.
Anyway, who's gonna take the picture?
Wait.
That's 1, 2, 3. Okay. One last time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so
everyone.
much.
I hope
Miss Hani.
Ngobrol-ngobrol kali.
I hope my English was understandable and I didn't
Of course.
ramble on too much.
You speak slowly. It's very understandable. I'm guessing whether you speak slowly is because you want to make us understand or you speak that way every day.
It varies from day to day.
Kita beberapa yang mengerti tapi agak sulit mengucapkannya.
Okay, Adia.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Miss Hani, for being a very good and smooth moderator tonight. Thank you so much, Nick, for sharing the presentation. That was very amazing and insightful. Thank you, Kang Ray, for the presentation. And we extend our gratitude as well to Hydra Italy for not, even though not being here, but they virtually sent the material for presentation. And once again, I would like to thank you for all of those participants joining the event tonight, especially once again to Kang Re Bahtiar for making this happen, because without you, this tonight event won't happen. And thank you so much for Miss Hani and the moderator and Mr. Ivan Arsyandi, Mr. Priyadi, Miss Nur Hazana, and all of the participants. Once again, thank you so much. And I would like to remind you that tomorrow we still have another event. The link, probably someone has the link for tomorrow.
Ajak Nick untuk gabung juga besok kalau memang dia mau.
Okay, so tomorrow we still have the day 2 event with another presenters, of course. So this is a wrap for tonight. This is it. Thank you so much. And see you again tomorrow. Terima kasih semuanya.
Okay,
Selamat malam.
Keep
Pak
healthy.
Irwan. Thank you, Kang
Dan.
Ray, dan semuanya. Thank you, Nick.
Bye, Nick. Nick udah keluar ya?
Udah.
Yeah, we can speak in Sundanese again.
Terima kasih sudah datang.
Biar
Sudah.
besok
Atur
ya.
nuhun
Saya mau-
Kadayana.
Atur nuhun.
Tawang Suna, mangga.
Tis, tis.
Nuhun, Sami.
Ani nuhun. Badiat.
Aduh, makasih semua. Aduh, saya nggak bisa bahasa Inggris.
Saya dog prize, dia teh dog prize.
Langsung ke Pak Ray.
Biasanya cerewet semua. Iya.
Enjing, enjing.
Tadi